Wait a minute.
Hi, my name is Susie. I grew up in West Hills, California, 50 years. And then we decided to move to Chatsworth over at Ross Point. I love the area. I got active in the area probably 2 to 3 years after we moved. I started coming to the meetings. I'm a stakeholder in a couple of the places. I come regularly to the CNC for a while now. I enjoy all the people that have been on it, that left, that have come back. It's an amazing group of people who have given their lives to this area. And I also volunteer. I do patrol with a certain company, and I like being with them and helping people. I did bike patrol until some health issues, and I had to give that up. So I thought I had extra time, and I'm so involved in CNC anyhow, I wanted to stick around and be a part of it.
Hi, I'm Jim Van Gundy. I was elected to the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council in 2010. I got involved because of a proposed housing development on Eudora Avenue that threatened the open space of the Santa Susana State Park. Thankfully, we got the major part of that construction reduced, and it still hasn't been built. I've lived in Chatsworth since 2006, and I've used my position on the council to promote the rural, quasi-rural atmosphere here in Chatsworth. During my 9 years on NC, I've served as a member of the Public Safety Commission, Public Safety and Transportation, Land Use and Outreach Committees. I currently serve as the chair for Outreach. If you've ever been to our table at any of the functions that we do, I'm the person that's there most of the time. I represented the board. Sometimes I feel like the Maytag repairman because it's the loneliest job in the world, because nobody really helps. Besides the numerous hours associated with NC, I currently volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, and I'm the treasurer of the Chatsworth Historical Society. I'd like to continue making a difference to the people and community of Chatsworth, and would appreciate your vote on March 21st.
Good evening. My name is Les Himes. I first came to Chatsworth in 1963, and I've lived here continuously other than some time in the United States Air Force and one brief year in over in Simi Valley. But I'm back out in Rock Point now. I went to Superior Street Elementary School. Nobel was here at Lawrence on the first day when the doors opened, and that old beat-up looking green banner up on the wall actually represents my graduation class. I went to Chatsworth High School. I raised 4 children here in the area, all of whom went to local schools. I, as you might imagine, have fairly deep roots in the community. I've coached, played, and had sons at Chatsworth Junior Baseball League. I coached and was on the board of the Chatsworth Chiefs. I'm a 4-time past president of the Chatsworth Porter Ranch Chamber of Commerce and a 2 times chair of the United Chambers of Commerce of the San Fernando Valley. I've also been on a number of government affairs committees in those capacities, and was along on the group that was part of the initial founders of this organization. As you can well imagine, Chatsworth has changed a great deal in that time. As other people have said, some for the good, some for the bad. But I would like to be involved in helping steer that change and keep as much of the old ways and modernize as best we can. My name again is Les Himes, and I would like your support. Thank you.
Good evening, Nick Montaño from, I'm also a board member here at Chatsworth Neighborhood Council. I volunteered in a number of different organizations, along with the LAPD and Chatsworth, with the Chatsworth Chamber of Commerce, our Business Improvement District on Devonshire. I own a business here in Chatsworth. My family lives here, and all my kids live here. And again, I kind of echo everything that everybody said here. We really want to try to protect our our way of life here, and try to make a difference with our different leaders, and try to convince them that some of their decisions aren't really the way that we'd like them. So please vote for me, and let me keep on working for you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan McCall. Well, thank you for welcoming me here. I'm an aerospace engineer. I'm currently working at Raytheon, and I sit on 2 condo boards, Topanga Townhomes and Chatsworth Country Townhomes, and I've learned an incredible amount over the last 4 years on and off the boards, and continually. Sometimes I've lived there, sometimes I live in West Hills, and I'm looking forward to taking, my knowledge and learning from this part of local government and bringing to the table, what I can do to move the needle and help the community, and also take a look at some of the city financing and understand, how the organization works and how I can contribute and help out everybody. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Trite. I've lived in Chatsworth for over 20 years. I recently retired. I taught 2nd grade for 27 years in Van Nuys. I grew up in Woodland Hills. My dad used to bring us to Chatsworth when he would do horse calls. We called it the boondocks. We loved going to the boonies. I never thought I would live here. I think this is probably where my love of the beautiful rocks started. I was able to buy a home here after the earthquake. Yay, earthquake. So as a teacher, I never would have been able to afford a home in Woodland Hills ever. I love Chatsworth. I love doing dishes and watching the horses go by on the horse path. I love the rural nature of Chatsworth. I don't want to see it developed in a way that is going to lose the best parts of Chatsworth. And now that I'm retired, I have time to actually get more involved in the community. As a teacher, I came home exhausted, and once my fanny hit the couch, I was done. But I've been to some of these meetings. I've been to some of the Chatsworth Community Coordinating Council meetings, and I look forward to getting involved in some other ways, and would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, so last call for, see if they arrived after we did the initial call. Kellyanne, Dietrich, Oleg, and Paul? No? Okay. So the selection committee has prepared a few questions for all the candidates to answer. And 1 minute, okay. So candidates, this is going to change to a different setting. It's going to be set to seconds. So it's going to go 60 and just go down that way, okay? So you will be doing the question?
Right, just have them hand the mic running down the road. We're doing it in order again?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to
you
start.
can mix it up and whatever, but use the mic to start off because it's speaking. And then I'll hand the mic.
How are we going to hear them?
You ask the question and I'll take it. I'll deliver it. Question. Let me get this.
Come on, Jeff, get involved.
All right, here's the first question to each of you. The board is selected to represent the will of the community. Will you vote to support the position of the community, even if you are in disagreement?
Start to the right. My right.
The other right.
Right.
The other right.
Okay, so we'll go down and then come back.
Okay.
There you go.
Anybody who knows me knows I'm going to fight for what's right for the community, even if it means fighting Dan Huffman, which has happened. So I have no problem going with the majority, even if I don't necessarily agree. I listen to everybody's viewpoints. I don't necessarily agree with those either, but I do my best.
So every time there is a motion, it comes to the board, we need to discuss, we need to ask the right questions, but we need always to make sure that we can come with all agreement and to make the right decision to serve our community.
So would you vote the way the community votes, or would you vote your own if you disagree?
If I disagree, it's the community's opinion.
Hold on.
Being on an HOA board kind of gives you a taste of this. A lot of times on HOA boards, some members get the feeling that it's the board against the members. And I've always fought back against that. I'm on my HOA board to serve our homeowners and look out for their best interest. And it would be the same thing if I were to be elected to the neighborhood council.
I would be with the community. Being on a stakeholder on land use, we've seen some things come to us that are very interesting. We just had a recent one that was amazing. Everybody in land use were so polite. Everybody was talking it out. There's a couple harsh words, but as a community, I think at the end of the night, it was, wow, this is a great community. And it really showed me when you just can talk calmly with people and express your views, and they express their views, and maybe we don't agree, we come to what's right.
On the committees that I've been on, land use, as Susie just said, we've had many issues where we have to sit there and listen to the community, get everybody's input, and make a decision. And most of the time, you side with the community. But there are times when, for instance, with the Andorra Avenue project, the board voted in favor of the project. I continued to vote against the project because that's what my community up in Roy Rogers Estates wanted me to do. So I listened to the community, but I also listened to the smaller community that I represent.
I think I have a long and demonstrated history in building consensus in organizations and different groups. And I certainly, if our task is to be the mouthpiece for the community, then that is what I would do. I don't think there would be anything that I would be that violently in disagreement with the community that I would feel the need to exert my personal feelings. If I did, I would try to change the view of the community. I think some people, and plenty of people in this room know I have a habit of trying to do that. But ultimately, if given the task of being the mouthpiece of the community, then those would be the orders that I would execute. So I would indeed do that. I would hope that if I was in an opposite position to the community, I would do what I could to change them to my way of thinking, and if I could not, I would vote as cast.
I would also vote with the community. I really want to see us try to save everything that we have. If we're getting encroached by all these people because it's so beautiful out here. Everybody wants to live here, so they want to just go ahead and start building. And no, we really need to start thinking about saving our community. So if something that our community didn't want to have, I definitely would be with that.
I would have to concur with what Martin had said about being on a condo association. You learn to appreciate the value of the teamwork, and I think also you learn to hear what people have to say and what's important to them. On the flip side, I'm a systems engineer, and I want to be able to bring to the table the problem-solving skills that I've acquired over the years and be able to be objective about any decision that we're about to make. Of course, supporting the community, but I think part of it is educating the community as well about issues and upcoming projects. And so, obviously, my first line would be is to support, but also inform based on information that we've collected as a team.
I definitely want to support and protect our Chatsworth community, so I would vote for whatever the community would want, which hopefully is to protect what we have here in Chatsworth, because it is very unique.
You can, sure.
Hi, I more than likely would stand with the community, as I've been to many community meetings, and as a community member, I have an opinion of how I like things to be. Like I said, I have older children who have lived here before things have changed so much, and I feel like my input's important, so I would like to hear what other people have to say, and their input is really important to me as well.
Judging from what the other candidates have said and the general tone of the community, it would be hard to see where I would disagree with what the board would vote for, or the community would vote for, but I wouldn't be afraid to ask the difficult questions to understand why we get to that point. But the overall goal of the community is what the board's here for, and I would support it.
I'm all about community. I think that the voices of, the voice in the community is probably the most important part, and also unity in the community, because you can't have community without unity. I'm also about working through solutions that benefit everyone as well. So I don't think that I would really stand up too much to the ultimate voice of the community, as long as we all were in agreement.
I would support the community in their thoughts, because that's who elects us to follow what they would like. When you have projects that have 850 people against it, it's kind of hard to not vote with the community. But we've had projects like the Hidden Creeks, which now luckily is a moot point. We voted against it. It was going through, but we worked hours. Judy Daniels, Mary Kaufman, myself, we worked hours to get and Jeannie Plum on the trails, to mitigate these projects so that they're more palatable for us. So I think that in a way you have to vote with the community, but you also have to realize that sometimes it's going to go through no matter what we say.
Well, I'd like to say I'm kind of a devout centrist, and in being a centrist, you listen to all sides. And when you're talking about a community, it's rarely homogeneous. Everybody's, yelling and screaming, and some of the ones that are yelling and screaming aren't necessarily the ones that are the largest part. They're just louder. So I like to listen to all sides and get a consensus. I'm not sure how you would get a consensus when you've got some really boisterous people trying to hog up the limelight, but I'll do the best I can.
They say many hands make light work, and so do many ideas make great solutions. So I would say the process of debate is really what I hope this committee does a lot of. And at the end, I think the committee members are charged with making a final decision based on what they hear. I would go with the majority decision. I think all of us have our own individual points of view, and that's one of the reasons we want to be on the board. But at the end of the day, it's the people that elected us that I want to go with.
Started. Good evening again. Again, my name is Andre Vandervalk. I've been fortunate enough in order to probably 6-7 years be not only president but vice president. And one of the things that you find out real quickly is that it isn't consensus that I'm looking for or anything else, it's the neighbors. First thing we look for is the neighbors in land use projects, and for that matter, in any other project that would involve possibly controversy. And the reality is that when you take that position of the neighbors, I think it's the most important thing, because sometimes there are other people that don't necessarily agree with you, and decisions are made, and that's the way it's been. It's made us very, very successful, especially with the accessibility of the councilman, who I believe just got elected yesterday. Very, very important, despite the fact that we are advisory, quote, only. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Georgia Altmeyer again. I would definitely support my community. I'm already heavily involved in the community. I get the general idea of what everybody's looking for. I am in about 8 or 9 volunteer community organizations here in Chatsworth. My statement is up front if you want to see more details on what I'm involved in, but to answer the question, yes, I would go with the community.
All right, for the candidates, when you start answering the question, several of you did it, but some of you didn't, just say your name, because last year we had, I think, about 100 people who watched this who weren't here. So just say your name, just take that second, say your name before answering the question.
Can I say it again?
You did it. You were one of the ones who did do it. For the audience, you should receive the 3x5 card. If you have any questions, we do have several more questions that we're going to be asking, but we do invite you to write your questions on a card, and they'll be submitted to the selection, to Vicki, and we'll try to incorporate and maybe group the questions, and so if they're not already being covered. And so the next question.
People need to talk louder.
Okay.
Or they need Yeah.
Okay, so from the audience, put the microphone close to your mouth. So they say, what do they say? Eat the microphone? Anyway, some of you did a good job, but others, put it closer, be sure you're loud so everyone can hear in the far back of the room, okay?
What board or committee meetings have you attended in the last year, and which committees would you like to serve on?
Melissa, let Melissa start.
Hi, Melissa Hall. I've been to almost every board meeting in the last 3 years, and I've been to several committee meetings. I do like land use, I like safety, and I was on the homeless until now we're gonna coordinate that with another one, so that's another one I would like to be on, to come up with as many solutions to the problems that we face today in Chatsworth.
Chris Heyer. I have unfortunately not attended any meetings or committee